15 hardened bikers thought they could break a soldier. Instead, she broke their entire criminal empire without firing a single shot. When the Iron Wolves Motorcycle Club targeted a community center construction site, they had no idea their target was a 3-tour combat engineer whose strategic genius would turn their world upside down. Using military precision, psychological warfare, and cutting-edge surveillance, Staff Sergeant Sarah Miller didn't just defeat one of the city's most feared gangs. She transformed them from ruthless extortionists into the community's most dedicated protectors. This is the story of how the wrong target became the perfect mentor, and how messing with the wrong soldier led to the most shocking redemption in criminal history. Tank Thompson crushed his cigarette under his boot, studying the surveillance photos spread across his desk. Security chief, huh? Just another rent-a-cop who needs to learn how things work around here. I don't know, boss. Mike Reynolds shifted uncomfortably. Something's different about this one. Military background, combat engineer, 3 tours overseas. You getting soft, Mike? Tank's voice carried a dangerous edge. Since when do we care about some soldier playing security guard? Since she turned away our collectors without breaking a sweat. Joey said she didn't even flinch when they tried to intimidate her, just smiled and said something about federal jurisdiction. Tank stood, his massive frame casting a shadow across the photos. Federal jurisdiction? At a community center? He laughed, but there was no humor in it. Clever, but clever only gets you so far in this town. Across town, Staff Sergeant Sarah Miller stood atop a stack of steel beams, surveying her domain. The Rising Hope Community Center was taking shape, concrete foundations poured, steel skeleton reaching skyward. Her trained eye caught every detail, every potential vulnerability. Ma'am? Tommy Wells, her young security guard, approached with a tablet. Got the surveillance feeds up like you asked, coverage of every angle. Sarah nodded, taking the tablet. And the dummy cameras? Installed where you specified, real obvious ones that they'll spot right away. Good. Let them think they're clever when they find them. She swiped through the feeds, pausing on one showing 3 motorcycles circling the perimeter. Right on schedule. David Chen hurried up, hard hat askew. Sarah, they're back. The crew's getting nervous. Maybe we should install the new security measures exactly as planned. She cut him off. The Iron Wolves are watching. Let them see us preparing. Just not what we're really preparing for. Her phone buzzed. Detective Rivera. Got your message. You're playing with fire, Miller. The Wolves have put 3 security chiefs in the hospital this month alone. Those chiefs tried to match force with force, Sarah replied, eyes still on the circling bikes. That's not my style. And what exactly is your style? In Afghanistan, I learned the best way to defeat an enemy is to make them defeat themselves. The Wolves prey on fear, Detective, but they've never dealt with someone who understands real fear, the kind that comes with real combat. A commotion erupted below. 2 bikers had cornered a concrete truck driver, their threatening postures clear even from a distance. I should call for backup, Rivera started. No need, Sarah said, already moving. Time for the first lesson. She descended with practiced efficiency, her boots hitting dirt just as one biker grabbed the driver's shirt. Problem here, gentlemen? The bikers turned, surprise flickering across their faces. Up close, Sarah didn't match their expectations. Athletic but not imposing, her calm confidence more unsettling than any show of force. Just explaining how business works around here, the larger biker growled. Protection ain't free. Interesting, Sarah smiled. Neither is federal prosecution. She pointed to a newly installed sign. This project receives federal funding, but please, continue threatening my employees. I'd love to make some calls. The bikers hesitated, their script suddenly useless. Real cops they could handle. Federal agents were different. Tank's gonna hear about this, the smaller one managed. I hope so, Sarah replied. Tell him Staff Sergeant Miller sends her regards, and remind him, the last time someone threatened my people in a war zone, they learned why that was a mistake. As the bikers retreated, Tommy approached. That was amazing. But Is this really federally funded? Sarah's smile turned wolfish. The sign doesn't say it is. It says it receives federal funding. Even $1 of grant money makes that technically true. But what happens when they figure that out? By then, they'll have bigger problems. She turned to the shaken truck driver. Pour that concrete exactly where specified. We're building something here, and I don't just mean the community center. In his bar across town, Tank's phone buzzed with a video of the confrontation. His fist clenched as he watched Sarah calmly dismantle his men's intimidation routine. Tonight, he growled to his assembled crew, we show her what happens to people who don't respect the natural order around here. But as his bikers roared into the night, Tank couldn't shake a nagging feeling. Something in the soldier's eyes suggested she wasn't just ready for trouble. She was counting on it. He had no way of knowing that every move he was about to make had been anticipated, planned for, and would serve a purpose he couldn't imagine. The Iron Wolves were about to learn that real warfare isn't about who's tougher, it's about who's smarter. And they had just challenged one of the smartest tactical minds to ever wear a uniform. The summer heat was about to get much, much hotter. Sarah spent that night in her makeshift security office, surrounded by monitors and blueprints. The Iron Wolves would retaliate, that was certain. But how they chose to do it would tell her everything she needed to know about their organization. Her radio crackled. Movement at the south fence, ma'am. Tommy's voice was barely a whisper. 2 figures, bolt cutters. Hold position, Sarah replied, eyes fixed on her surveillance feeds. Let's see who else is coming to the party. Within minutes, 3 more shadows appeared at different points around the site. Classic military-style perimeter probe, except these guys had learned it from prison, not boot camp. Sarah keyed her radio again. All units, maintain observation only. Do not engage. She smiled slightly. Let them think they're in charge. The first fence panel fell with a muffled clang. Sarah watched Tank himself step through the gap, followed by 6 of his crew. They moved with practice coordination, not just thugs, but organized criminals who'd done this before. Check it out, one biker whispered, pointing to a security camera. Just like the last site. Basic setup, nothing special. Tank nodded, already moving toward the equipment yard. Standard procedure. Take out the cameras, then the machinery. Send our message. Got some new toys for that, another added, patting his backpack. Thermite charges. That crane won't just be damaged, it'll be scrap. Sarah's finger moved to a different radio channel. Detective Rivera, they're here. Got 7 inside, probably 3 more watching the perimeter, and they brought thermite. Jesus, Miller. That's serious escalation. I'm sending units. Negative. Stick to the plan. I need them to commit fully before we spring the trap. Otherwise, we'll just delay the real confrontation. She switched back to the security channel. Tommy, they're heading for the crane. Execute phase 1. Suddenly, floodlights blazed to life, but not the obvious ones mounted on poles. These came from ground level, hidden spots, casting harsh shadows that completely ruined the biker's night vision. What the hell? Tank's voice carried across the yard. Take out those lights! But as his men moved, a new sound filled the air. Dozens of phones buzzing simultaneously. Each Iron Wolf pulled out their device to find the same message. Smile for the cameras, the real ones. Tank's head snapped up, finally seeing what Sarah had planned. The obvious security cameras were decoys. The real surveillance net was far more sophisticated. Military-grade cameras hidden in construction materials, covering every angle. Boss, one biker called out, panic edging his voice. Those ain't regular cameras. They're thermal. Face masks won't help. Sarah's voice echoed through hidden speakers. Attention, Iron Wolves. You are currently trespassing on a monitored construction site. Your images, heat signatures, and unique physical identifiers have been recorded and archived. Additionally, your phone metadata is now logged in our system. Tank cursed, realizing every buzzing phone had just given away its owner's identity. Pull back! Everyone out, now! Oh, and Mr. Thompson? Sarah's voice carried a hint of amusement. The thermite in Rick's backpack? Interesting choice. The ATF has been very curious about where those materials have been coming from. I'm sure they'll appreciate the video evidence. Before we continue with the story, tell us where you're watching from. If you like this story, hit that subscribe button, because tomorrow we have special story for you. The bikers scattered, their coordinated attack dissolving into chaos. As they fled through the cut fence, Tank remained behind, scanning the shadows. "Show yourself," he growled. "Face me like a real soldier." Sarah's laugh echoed through the speakers. "A real soldier knows you don't win by playing the enemy's game. But don't worry, we'll meet face to face soon enough, when you're ready to have a civilized conversation about how things are going to work around here from now on." Tank kicked a toolbox in fury, then froze as red targeting dots appeared on his chest. "You wouldn't dare shoot." "Laser pointers," Sarah's voice cut in. $5 each at the hardware store. Amazing how the human mind fills in the blanks, isn't it? Good psychological warfare isn't about what's real. It's about what you can make the enemy believe is real. Tank backed away, his usual confidence shattered. For the first time in years, he felt outmaneuvered. The Iron Wolves had built their reputation on fear, but this soldier seemed immune to it. Worse, she understood something his crew didn't. The real power of fear comes from the mind, not the muscle. As police sirens wailed in the distance, Tank mounted his bike. "This isn't over, Staff Sergeant." "Actually," Sarah's voice followed him into the night, "it's just beginning. Sleep well, Mr. Thompson. Tomorrow, we'll see how your crew handles some real psychological warfare." Back in her office, Sarah clicked off the mic and turned to Tommy. "Tell Detective Rivera he can move in now. Have his men document everything, especially the thermite. We need this night to hurt the wolves where it really counts. Their reputation." "You think they'll back off?" Tommy asked. Sarah shook her head. "No, Tank's too proud for that. But now his men have seen something they've never encountered before. Someone who can beat them without throwing a single punch. That seed of doubt? It's going to grow into exactly what we need." She looked at her monitors, watching Tank's motorcycle disappear into the night. In combat, the most dangerous enemy isn't the one who fights the hardest. It's the one who makes you question everything you thought you knew about the fight. The Iron Wolves had just learned their first lesson. They hadn't just messed with the wrong soldier. They'd messed with someone who could turn their own tactics against them. And Sarah Miller was just getting started. The Iron Wolves' clubhouse was chaos. Tank paced the floor while his crew argued, their usual discipline shattered by the night's events. "She played us." Rick threw his backpack against the wall. "Those thermite charges? Now the feds will be crawling up our supply chain." "Forget the charges," Mike cut in. "She's got our phone data, facial recognition, thermal imaging. This ain't some rent-a-cop with a flashlight." Tank's fist crashed into a table, silencing the room. "You sound like scared children. One soldier with some fancy cameras and you're ready to roll over?" "Boss." Joey stepped forward, his veteran status giving him the courage to speak up. "This ain't about the cameras. She knows military tactics. That ambush, that was textbook psychological warfare. She wanted us to get in, wanted us to think we had control." "So what?" Tank's voice was dangerous. "We've dealt with ex-military before. Not like her." Joey pulled out his phone, showing a file he'd dug up. "Staff Sergeant Sarah Miller, 3 tours as a combat engineer, specialized in infrastructure protection against insurgent attacks. She didn't just serve, she wrote the book on protecting high-value targets from groups exactly like us." The room fell silent as security footage from the construction site played on the clubhouse's big screen. Every angle showed their failed raid in crystal-clear detail. "Delete it," Tank ordered. "Scrub everything." "Can't." Mike's face was pale. "It's not stored locally. She's got it all on some military-grade cloud system. The more we try to hack it, the more evidence we create." Before Tank could respond, every phone in the room buzzed simultaneously. The message was simple. "Footage from tonight will be held securely. Future incidents will be released publicly. Your choice." "She's bluffing," Tank growled, but doubt crept into his voice. Another buzz. This message included a link. The bikers watched in horror as a professionally edited video showed their failed raid, complete with thermal imaging of their faces and clear audio of their plans to use thermite. This version goes live if any construction site in the city reports gang interference, the next message read. Your reputation goes from feared enforcers to failed amateurs in one viral video. Tank hurled his phone across the room. Call everyone in. Full membership meeting. Now. As the Iron Wolves gathered, Sarah sat in her office, watching multiple feeds. Her phone rang. Detective Rivera. That footage you sent? He said. DA's office is salivating. We could take down the whole club. Not the goal, Sarah replied. We're not trying to destroy them. Then what are you doing? Sarah smiled, watching the bikers arrive at their clubhouse. Creating an opportunity. In combat, you don't just eliminate threats, you convert them into assets. The Iron Wolves have organization, influence, and manpower. They just need a new mission. You're crazy if you think, how's the community center's federal grant application going? Rivera paused. What? Approved this morning. Why? Perfect. Send Tank the notification. Let him see what he's really fighting against. Back at the clubhouse, Tank addressed his assembled crew. This soldier thinks she can outmaneuver us, thinks her cameras and mind games can stop what we've built. But she's forgetting something crucial. We own these streets. A younger member raised his hand. Maybe we should back off this one. Find an easier target? Tank moved to respond, but Joey cut him off. Boss, check your email. The federal grant notification projected onto the wall. Millions in funding for the community center. Job training programs. Youth outreach. And there, in the middle of the proposal, a section on community security integration, with a budget for hiring local contractors. She's not just building a community center, Joey said quietly. She's building an opportunity. Look at the salary ranges for the security contracts. Tank stared at the numbers. They were higher than what the Iron Wolves made from their protection rackets. Boss, Mike stepped forward. My kid's school got shut down last month. This center's gonna have after-school programs, job training. You going soft? Tank challenged, but his voice lacked conviction. Another message buzzed through. Tomorrow, noon, just you and me, Mr. Thompson. Let's discuss your club's future role in community protection. The room erupted in argument, but Tank stood silent, studying the grant proposal. For the first time in years, he felt something he'd forgotten. Possibility. Sarah watched the feed, noting Tank's expression. In combat, she muttered, the strongest position isn't the high ground, it's the moral ground. She turned to Tommy. Tomorrow, we find out if a wolf can learn new tricks. You think he'll come alone? Sarah checked her tactical displays. No, but that's part of the plan, too. Sometimes the best way to change a leader is to let his people see the change first. The summer heat was rising, but the real temperature check would come at noon. The Iron Wolves stood at a crossroads, and Sarah Miller had just shown them a new path. The question was, would they take it, or would pride force a confrontation that neither side truly wanted? Tank stared at the empty clubhouse hours later, the grant proposal still glowing on the wall. His phone buzzed one final time. The difference between a gang and an army is purpose. Which would you rather lead? Tomorrow would bring answers. But for the first time since his brother's death, Tank Thompson dreamed of building something instead of tearing it down. High noon hit the construction site like a hammer, the temperature climbing past 100 degrees. Sarah stood in the shade of the half-finished community center, watching dust devils dance across the yard. Right on time, the rumble of motorcycles approached. Tank rolled in first, followed by, as Sarah expected, 5 of his most trusted men. They parked in a V formation, a show of force that made Sarah smile inwardly. Old habits die hard. Glad you could make it, Sarah called out, not moving from her position. Though I believe I said come alone. Trust goes both ways, Staff Sergeant. Tank dismounted, scanning for guards he knew must be hidden. Where's your backup? Don't need any. You're not here to fight. She gestured to a makeshift meeting area, a folding table with building plans spread across it. You're here because you're smart enough to recognize an opportunity. Tank approached cautiously, his men spreading out behind him. The plans showed more than just the community center. They detailed security layouts, patrol routes, surveillance systems. Impressive setup, Tank admitted grudgingly. But what's your game? You trying to put us out of business? Actually, Sarah stepped forward. I'm offering you a legitimate business. She tapped the plans. This center needs round-the-clock security once it's operational. Real security, not protection rackets. The kind that requires people who know the streets, command respect, and can handle themselves. Mike moved closer, studying the patrol routes. These are military-grade formations, professional stuff. Because that's what we'll be training you to be. Professionals. Sarah pulled out a folder. I've got 20 military veterans coming in as instructors, but they don't know this neighborhood like you do. They don't have your network, your street knowledge. Tank's eyes narrowed. You want to turn the Iron Wolves into security guards? I want to turn you into community protectors. There's a difference. She handed him another document. Check the salary scales, plus benefits, legitimate insurance, retirement plans. More than you make now, without the risk of RICO charges hanging over your heads. Joey whistled at the numbers. Boss, this is serious money. There's a catch, Tank said. There's always a catch. Sarah nodded. Several. You'll need licensing, training. Some of your members will have to clean up their records, and you'll have to prove yourselves trustworthy, not just to me, but to the community. The community? Tank laughed harshly. They fear us. And how's that working out? Fear brings compliance, not respect. You want real power? Try protecting people instead of threatening them. A young prospect named Charlie spoke up. Like what you did for my sister last month. Tank spun around. What? Charlie shifted uncomfortably. My sister's kid needed special education programs. Staff Sergeant Miller helped get him into one through the center's early funding. Didn't even know who I was connected to. Sarah watched Tank's expression carefully. That's what real community influence looks like. Not taking, but giving. Your men understand that, even if you're not ready to. And if we refuse? Sarah shrugged. Then the footage goes public. The feds trace your thermite supply chain. The protection rackets get exposed. But that's not why you're going to accept. No? Tank's voice was dangerous. Why am I going to accept? Because I read your file, Marcus Thompson. Construction foreman for 12 years before the accident. Your brother died because of corrupt site security, cutting corners to save money. You started the protection rackets thinking you could force sites to be safer. She met his eyes. How'd that work out? The other bikers tensed, waiting for Tank's explosion. Nobody mentioned his brother. Nobody. But Tank just stared at the plans, his fingers tracing the patrol routes. You got it all figured out, don't you, soldier? Not all. That's why I need you. Your men. Your knowledge. Help me build something that actually makes construction sites safer. Something that would have saved your brother. A long silence fell, broken only by the distant sound of work crews. Finally, Tank spoke. The Iron Wolves don't work for anyone. Then work with me. Keep your independence, but with a legitimate purpose. Your choice. Be remembered as thugs, or become something your brother would have been proud of. More motorcycles approached, the rest of the Iron Wolves, right on schedule. Sarah had counted on Tank calling them in. Perfect timing, she said. Let's show your full crew exactly what I'm offering. Because this decision isn't just about you, Mr. Thompson. It's about all of them. Their futures. Their families. Tank looked at his assembled men, seeing them with new eyes. Charlie, whose nephew needed help. Mike, whose kid needed a school. Joey, getting too old for street fights. 2 conditions, he said finally. We maintain our identity. No corporate uniforms. Agreed. Keep your leather, but add professional patches. Show both sides of who you are. And second, we do this our way. No yes ma'am, no ma'am military bull. Sarah smiled. Wouldn't work anyway. But you will learn proper security protocols, starting today. She held out her hand. Tank stared at it for a long moment. Your brother wanted to build things, she said softly. Here's your chance to finish what he started. Tank's massive hand engulfed hers. You better be right about this, Staff Sergeant. Trust me, Sarah replied. By the time we're done, the Iron Wolves won't just protect this community. You'll help build it, one site at a time. The gathered bikers watched in silence as their leader shook hands with the soldier they'd tried to intimidate just days ago. None of them knew it yet, but this moment would be remembered as the day the Iron Wolves began their transformation from feared gang to respected guardians. The war was over. The real work was about to begin. The first week of transformation wasn't easy. Sarah watched from her office as Tank struggled to control his men during their initial training session. 20 Iron Wolves stood in formation, or what was supposed to be formation, while Elena Doc Rodriguez, Sarah's former combat medic, tried to teach them basic security protocols. "This is garbage," one biker shouted, throwing down his security manual. "We ain't soldiers." "No," Elena replied calmly. "You're worse than soldiers. You're sloppy, undisciplined, and right now completely useless for professional security work." Tank stepped forward, authority radiating. "You got something to say about my men?" "Yeah," Elena got in his face, unfazed by his size. "Your men nearly got themselves killed last week because they don't understand basic perimeter control. You want to play tough guy? Fine. Show me how tough handles a real security crisis." She keyed her radio. "Michael, run Scenario 3. Suddenly, alarms blared across the construction site. Multiple breaches, simultaneous threats, and complex problems that muscle alone couldn't solve. "Site's under attack," Elena announced. "Multiple hostiles, unknown weapons, workers trapped in danger zones. Show me how the mighty Iron Wolves handle this." The bikers scrambled, all their usual coordination evaporating under pressure. Tank barked orders, but without proper protocols, his men just created more chaos. Sarah's voice cut through their radios. "Congratulations. In the 3 minutes since this drill started, you've lost 12 workers, caused $3 million in equipment damage, and exposed yourselves to multiple liability lawsuits." Tank ripped off his radio. "This is bull." "This," Sarah interrupted, walking onto the training ground, "is why you're here. You think you know security? You know intimidation. Real security is about preventing disasters, not just reacting to them." She turned to the gathered bikers. "Each of you is here because you have skills we need. Street knowledge, physical capabilities, command presence. But right now, you're like a gun without a sight. All power, no precision. We've been handling security our own way for years," another biker protested. "You've been running a protection racket," Elena corrected. "Real security? That's about saving lives, not taking percentages." Sarah picked up the discarded manual. "Your choice, gentlemen. Learn to do this right or go back to being common thugs. But remember, that footage of your failed raid is still waiting to go public." Tank snatched the manual. "Run it again." "Boss?" several bikers questioned. "I said run it again, and this time we do it their way." He faced his crew. "My brother died because of amateur security. We started the Iron Wolves to prevent that, remember? So let's prevent it right." The next simulation began. This time the bikers listened. They learned. 3 hours later, exhausted and humbled, they started to understand what real security meant. Sarah watched Tank reviewing protocols with his core team. "They're actually getting it," Elena remarked. "They always had the potential," Sarah replied. "They just needed the right motivation." A commotion at the gate interrupted them. A rival gang, the Desert Ravens, had arrived, 30 strong and looking for trouble. "Well," Elena checked her radio, "looks like we get to test their progress sooner than planned." The Ravens' leader, Snake, strutted onto the site. "Heard the Iron Wolves turned corporate. Guess that means their territory is up for grabs." Before Sarah could respond, Tank's voice boomed across the yard. Actually, we're now licensed security contractors protecting private property. So, unless you boys have business here. His men moved with newfound precision, establishing a proper containment formation. Sarah noted their positioning. Rough, but technically correct. Snake laughed. Licensed security? You're wearing patches with wolves on them. Professional patches, Tank corrected, showing his newly issued security license. And we've got something you don't, legal authority to defend this site. Plus federal connections, Elena added loudly. Love to see how your parole officers react to you starting trouble on a federally monitored project. The Ravens hesitated, seeing not just the Iron Wolves' muscle, but actual organization. Cameras tracked their every move, and the bikers' formation left no easy escape routes. This ain't over, Snake threatened. Actually, it is, Sarah stepped forward. But we're always hiring. If you're tired of looking over your shoulder for police, consider a legitimate career change. The Iron Wolves are proof that it's possible. After the Ravens retreated, Tank approached Sarah. That felt different. Usually, we'd have just started swinging. Welcome to professional security, she replied. Where the best conflicts are the ones you prevent. My men actually handled that right? Not perfectly, Elena cut in. Your left flank was sloppy, radio discipline was non-existent, and your tactical positioning needs work. But for week 1? She smiled. Not bad for a bunch of bikers. Tank gathered his crew for debriefing, another new protocol they were learning. Sarah watched them, seeing not ex-gang members but potential professionals finding their way. Think the Ravens will be back? Elena asked. Count on it, Sarah replied. But that's good. Every challenge is a chance to prove the Iron Wolves are really changing. And next time? She smiled. Next time they'll be ready. As the sun set, Tank found Sarah in her office. My brother, he said quietly. He'd have liked this. Turning things legit. Making sites actually safe. He's why you're succeeding, Sarah replied. Because deep down, the Iron Wolves were always about protection. You just forgot what real protection looks like. Tank nodded, looking at his new security license. We ain't soldiers and we never will be. But maybe we can be something just as important. You already are, Sarah assured him. You're becoming what this community really needs. Guardians who understand both sides of the law. Now you just need to master the skills to do it right. The next day's training would be harder. The transformation had only begun. But watching the Iron Wolves study their manuals under the setting sun, Sarah knew she hadn't just neutralized a threat. She'd created something entirely new. And somewhere, she was sure, Tank's brother was proud. 2 weeks into training, the call came at midnight. Sarah's phone lit up with multiple alerts. Silent alarms triggered at 3 construction sites across the city. Desert Ravens, Detective Rivera's voice crackled through her phone. They're hitting every Iron Wolves protection site simultaneously, trying to prove a point. Sarah smiled in the darkness. No, they're walking into a trap. She switched channels. Tank, you watching this? Already mobilized, Tank replied, engine roaring in the background. Teams in position, just like we planned. Remember your training. This isn't about revenge. It's about professional containment and legal apprehension. We got it, Staff Sergeant. Sarah watched her monitors as the Iron Wolves executed their response. 3 teams, each led by her most promising trainees. Tank took the community center, Joey handled the downtown high-rise project, and Mike covered the Riverside development. They're in for one hell of a surprise, Elena commented, watching beside her. 2 weeks ago, these guys were barely following basic protocols. Amazing what proper motivation can do, Sarah replied. Dispatch, all units live stream engaging. The screens filled with body camera feeds, another new protocol the Wolves had initially resisted. Each team moved with practiced precision, their leather cuts now sporting professional security patches and proper equipment. At the community center, Tank's voice stayed calm and clear. Hostiles breaching east fence. Charlie team contain. Delta Team, prepare for intercept. Remember, we're licensed professionals now. Everything by the book. The Ravens had expected to find construction sites defended by scattered gang members. Instead, they encountered coordinated security teams using military-grade tactics. "This is licensed security," Tank's voice boomed across the yard. "You are trespassing on private property. Surrender now or face legal consequences." Snake's voice answered with a laugh. "Playing cop now, Tank? What happened to the mighty Iron Wolves?" "We evolved," Tank replied. "Last chance to do this the easy way." The Ravens charged, but instead of the usual gang brawl, they ran into a carefully orchestrated containment operation. Wolves teams herded them into predetermined zones, documented every action with body cameras, and coordinated with approaching police. "Central, be advised," Tank radioed, his voice professionally calm. "Suspects contained in Sector 4. All actions documented. No excessive force used." Sarah watched the other site's feeds. Joey's team had already detained 6 Ravens, while Mike's group was coordinating a textbook perimeter defense. "They're actually doing it," Elena whispered. "Professional security work by the book." "Command presence to all units," Sarah broadcast. "Police 2 minutes out. Maintain containment. Document everything. Remember your training." The Ravens, faced with organized resistance and approaching sirens, began to break. Some surrendered. Others fled, right into carefully planned containment zones. When the police arrived, they found not a gang war, but a professional security operation. Licensed contractors defending their sites with proper protocols and complete documentation. "This is unexpected," Detective Rivera admitted, watching his officers process the detained Ravens. "They actually followed procedure." "Check the body cam footage," Sarah replied proudly. "Every action justified, minimum force used, complete professional conduct." Tank approached, his security license displayed properly. "Site secured, Staff Sergeant. All suspects either detained or fled. No injuries, minimal property damage." "Assessment of your team's performance?" "Radio discipline needs work. Charlie team was slow on their containment pattern, but overall," he allowed himself a small smile, "we did it right." Snake, being led to a police car, called out, "You've gone soft, Tank. The Iron Wolves are dead." "No," Tank replied calmly. "We just found a better way to be strong." He turned to Sarah. "Though I gotta admit, saying you are trespassing on private property doesn't have quite the same ring as our old threats. But it has something better, legal authority. How's it feel to be on the right side of the law?" Tank watched his men coordinating with police, pride evident in his bearing. Different. Good different. Later, as the wolves gathered for debriefing, Sarah addressed them. "Tonight wasn't just about stopping the Ravens. It was your first real test as professionals. You proved something. To the police, to the community, but most importantly, to yourselves." "Proved what?" Charlie asked. "That you can be just as effective within the law as outside it, maybe more effective." Joey spoke up. "Streets are already talking. Ravens hit 3 sites, got shut down at all of them. No violence, no chaos, just got straight up outmaneuvered by professionals." "That's your new reputation," Sarah explained. "Not thugs, not outlaws, professionals who know their job and do it right." Tank gathered his crew. "Don't forget this feeling. Tonight, we protected something. Really protected it. Not just took money to leave it alone. This is what my brother wanted. This is what the Iron Wolves should have been all along." As the bikers dispersed, Sarah noticed their bearing had changed. They carried themselves differently, not as gang members playing security, but as professionals who had proven their worth. "Think it'll last?" Elena asked. Sarah watched Tank reviewing protocols with his team, making notes for improvements. "Something tells me they've found their true calling. The Iron Wolves were always protectors at heart. They just needed to learn how to do it right." The night's events would spread through the underground. The message was clear. The Iron Wolves hadn't gone soft. They'd gone professional. And in doing so, They'd become something far more formidable than just another gang. They'd become guardians. Word spread fast through the city's underground. 3 weeks after the Ravens incident, Sarah sat in her office reviewing security footage of something unprecedented. Gang members approaching Iron Wolves patrols to ask about security training. That's the third group this week, Elena noted, watching a former rival gang leader discussing licensing requirements with Joey. Your experiment is having unintended consequences. Nothing unintended about it, Sarah replied. Every successful military operation creates a ripple effect. We didn't just change the Iron Wolves, we changed the game. Tank entered, looking uncomfortable in his new polo shirt with the security company logo. This uniform feels wrong. Keep the cut over it, Sarah suggested. Show both sides of who you are. That's why they're coming to us. You prove they don't have to lose their identity to go legitimate. A commotion at the gate interrupted them. A group of ravens, including Snake himself, waited at the perimeter. Here we go, Tank muttered, but Sarah held up her hand. Wait, look at their body language. They're not here for trouble. Snake's usual swagger was gone. He approached the gate properly, hands visible. Need to talk business. Professional business. Sarah nodded to Tank. Your show. You're the chief of security operations now. Tank straightened, unconsciously adopting the command presence they'd trained him to project. State your purpose. Look, Snake shifted uncomfortably. Streets are changing. Can't make money the old way anymore, not with you guys showing everyone a better option. Word is you're offering training programs. Licensed security certification courses, Tank corrected. 12 weeks minimum. Background checks required. No exceptions. That's why we're here. Ravens want in. Legitimate work, legitimate money. Snake forced the words out. We've seen how it's working for the Wolves. Sarah watched Tank handle the situation. 3 weeks ago, he would have laughed Snake off the property. Now she saw him calculating logistics, considering personnel requirements. It won't be easy, Tank warned. You'll start at the bottom, learn everything from scratch, follow every rule. Like you did? Like I did. Because Staff Sergeant Miller showed me something. Tank gestured at the construction site where Iron Wolves teams conducted professional patrols. Real respect doesn't come from fear. It comes from being somebody people can count on. Snake looked at his men, then back at Tank. The Ravens always counted ourselves your rivals. Never thought we'd be asking you for lessons. Not lessons, Sarah cut in. Professional certification. There's a difference. Later, watching the Ravens fill out preliminary applications, Elena shook her head in amazement. You're building an army. No, Sarah corrected. We're building a community. Every gang member who transitions to legitimate work strengthens the neighborhood, changes the culture. Tank reviewed the applications, his expression thoughtful. You planned this from the start, didn't you? Use the Wolves to show others it was possible? In combat, the best victory isn't destroying your enemy. It's converting them to your cause. The Iron Wolves weren't just my first project. You were my proof of concept. A young Raven prospect approached Tank hesitantly. That true what they say? About benefits, retirement plans? Full health coverage, Tank confirmed. Plus bonuses for additional certifications. My guys make more now than they ever did running protection rackets. And we sleep better, Joey added, passing by with his patrol team. No looking over our shoulders, no worried about RICO charges, just honest work protecting honest people. Sarah's phone buzzed. Detective Rivera. Miller, you're not going to believe this. We've got 3 more crews asking about security licensing requirements. Even some of the harder gangs are considering it. Send them our way, Sarah replied. Phase 2 is ahead of schedule. Phase 2? How many phases are in this plan of yours? Sarah watched Tank conducting an impromptu orientation, explaining professional standards to former rivals who hung on every word. As many as it takes. Every converted gang means fewer threats to the community, fewer kids joining for the wrong reasons. Elena studied the security feeds showing Iron Wolves patrols across multiple sites. They're actually better at this than regular security guards. They know the streets, understand the threats. Because they used to be the threats, Sarah finished. Now they're the solution. A construction worker approached Tank, reporting suspicious activity near the equipment yard. Sarah watched her former trainee respond, calm, professional, by the book. All units, possible situation at southeast corner, Tank radioed. Charlie team investigate, Delta team stand by. Remember protocols. Look at him, Elena marveled. 3 weeks ago he was a gang leader. Now he's what he always could have been, Sarah said. A leader who protects instead of threatens, and others are noticing. The Ravens spent the rest of the day observing Iron Wolves' operations, seeing their former rivals demonstrate what professional security really meant. With each demonstration, more faces showed understanding and hope. You know what the best part is? Tank asked Sarah as sunset approached. My brother would have loved this. Turning the bad guys into the good guys, making things right. You're not just making things right, Sarah replied. You're changing how things work. Every gang that follows your example is another victory for the community. As night fell, the newly formed security teams took their positions. Iron Wolves veterans paired with Raven trainees, beginning the cycle again. Think it'll keep spreading? Elena wondered. Sarah smiled, watching former enemies learning to work together. Like wildfire, because we're not just offering jobs, we're offering purpose. And that's something every warrior understands, no matter which side they started on. The transformation was accelerating. What had begun as one soldier's plan to handle a gang problem had evolved into something much bigger, a model for change that could reshape the entire city's underground. And it all started because some bikers messed with the wrong soldier. The real test came sooner than anyone expected. 6 weeks into the transformation, the Crimson Riders rolled into town, an out-of-state gang with a reputation for extreme violence and no interest in going legitimate. They're setting up at the old warehouse district, Detective Rivera reported during an emergency briefing. Already hit 2 construction sites upstate, 3 guards in the hospital, 1 critical. Sarah studied the intel photos. 50 bikes, heavy weapons, professional-grade explosives. These weren't local thugs. They were organized criminals looking to take over the territory. They think we've gone soft, Tank growled, now wearing his security commander badge alongside his Iron Wolves cut. Word's out about our transformation. They're here to prove the old way still works. Let them try, Sarah replied calmly. This is what we've trained for. Show me your tactical assessment. Tank moved to the map, his analysis surprisingly sophisticated after weeks of intensive training. They'll hit multiple sites simultaneously, trying to overwhelm our response teams. Their reputation depends on making an example of us. Our advantage? Sarah prompted. We know these streets better. We've got integrated security teams, coordinated communications, and legitimate law enforcement backing. Tank allowed himself a small smile. Plus, they have no idea who they're really dealing with. Sarah nodded approvingly. Initial response plan? 3 layers. Outer perimeter security teams show our professional presence. Inner response units ready for immediate action. Strategic reserves positioned to support any sector. Tank pointed to key locations. All by the book, all properly documented. And unofficial channels? Sarah knew the streets still had their own networks. Local crews are with us. Even gangs that haven't joined the program respect what we've built. Nobody wants these outsiders bringing heat on our territory. That night, the Crimson Riders made their move. They hit 5 sites at once, expecting to find regular security guards. Instead, they met professionally trained teams led by people who knew every trick in their playbook. This is licensed security, Tank's voice boomed across the community center site. You are engaging in criminal trespass against federally protected property. Stand down or face immediate consequences. The Riders' leader, a mountain of a man called Brick, laughed. Look at the sellouts, playing Rent-A-Cop with their cute little badges. Actually, Sarah's voice cut through their radio channels. They're playing federal witnesses. Every move you make is being recorded and transmitted directly to law enforcement databases. On cue, police sirens wailed in the distance, but the real surprise came from the surrounding buildings. Former gang members, now legitimate security professionals, emerged in coordinated formations. The riders found themselves facing not just the Iron Wolves, but a united front of converted crews. "Last chance," Tank announced. "Surrender to licensed security personnel or face both immediate and legal consequences." "Take them," Brick ordered. But his men hesitated. They'd expected chaos, intimidation opportunities. Instead, they faced organized security teams operating with military precision. The next 10 minutes demonstrated everything Sarah had taught her unlikely students. The Wolves and their allied teams contained the threat with professional efficiency. No excessive force, no illegal actions, just skilled security work backed by proper authority. "West Sector contained," Joey reported calmly. 8 suspects detained, all actions documented on body cams. "East Sector secure," came Mike's update. "Suspects attempting to flee have been corralled into police containment zones." Sarah watched from her command center as her training played out across multiple screens. The Iron Wolves weren't just fighting back. They were conducting a masterclass in professional security operations. Brick, realizing his crew was being systematically dismantled, charged Tank directly. "You've ruined everything," he roared. "Turned real bikers into security guards." Tank sidestepped smoothly, using certified defensive techniques. "No," he replied, professionally restraining the larger man. "We've evolved, found a better way to be strong." As police arrived, they found not a gang war, but a coordinated security operation. Detained suspects, proper documentation, professional reports, everything handled by the book. "I'll be damned," Detective Rivera muttered, watching former gang members assist with processing. They really did it. Legitimate professionals. Sarah approached Tank as he supervised the cleanup. "Assessment of your team's performance?" "Radio discipline held under pressure, containment protocols executed properly, no excessive force used." He checked his body cam footage. "Could have been faster on the east perimeter response, but overall, we proved something tonight." "What's that?" "That we're not just playing at being legitimate. We've become what you trained us to be." He looked at his teams, pride evident in his bearing. Real professionals who can handle real threats. The next day, Sarah found Tank reviewing security footage with mixed teams of Wolves and former Ravens, analyzing their performance for improvements. "Streets are talking," he reported. "Word spreading about how we handled the riders, but not about how tough we were, about how professional we were." "That's the real victory," Sarah replied. "You didn't just beat them. You showed there's a better way to be powerful." As if to prove her point, 3 riders approached the gate, asking about security certification programs. "See?" Sarah smiled. "Real strength isn't about who can cause the most damage. It's about who can build something worth protecting." Tank watched his teams conduct their patrols, former rivals working together professionally. "Never thought I'd say this, Staff Sergeant, but getting messed with by you was the best thing that ever happened to the Iron Wolves." "No," Sarah corrected. "The best thing that happened was you being smart enough to recognize an opportunity for change. You didn't just save your crew, you started a movement." The sun set on a changed city. The Crimson Riders' attempted takeover had instead become a demonstration of legitimate power, and in the underground, the word spread. The future belonged not to the most violent, but to the most professional. The wrong soldier had created something unprecedented, an alliance of former enemies dedicated to protecting what they once would have destroyed. 2 days after the Crimson Riders incident, Sarah found herself facing an unexpected problem: success. Her office was flooded with applications from crews across 3 states, all wanting to follow the Iron Wolves' example. "We've got a situation," Elena announced, dropping a stack of files on Sarah's desk. "Remember how we worried about resistance to the program? Now we're dealing with too much interest. Even got inquiries from some corporate security firms." "They're noticing the results," Sarah replied, reviewing the latest performance metrics. Our converted crews have better response times, lower turnover, and higher client satisfaction than traditional security companies. Tank entered, looking troubled. Got something you need to see. He pulled up surveillance footage from the previous night. A group of suited executives touring one of their sites after hours, studying their operations. Blackguard Security. Sarah identified the logo on their briefcases. Biggest private security contractor in the Southwest. They're offering to buy us out, Tank said flatly. Want to absorb our entire operation. Said they'll keep me on as regional director, maintain our current structure, just under their corporate umbrella. For how much? 7 figures, plus stock options. He met Sarah's eyes. That kind of money could set up every member of my crew for life. Sarah studied him. But it feels wrong. Like selling out everything we've built. This isn't just about money anymore. It's about community. About proving there's a better way. A commotion outside interrupted them. Joey rushed in looking concerned. We've got press, lots of press. Someone leaked footage of the riders' takedown. They're calling it the security revolution. Former gangs transforming into professional services. Sarah moved to the window. News vans lined the street, reporters gathering at the gate. Their small experiment in rehabilitation had suddenly become very public. Time to make a decision, she told Tank. Stay independent and deal with the growing pains, or take the corporate money and lose control. Tank's phone buzzed. Another Blackguard executive pushing for a meeting. He silenced it with a grimace. What would you do? In the military, I learned something important about command, Sarah replied. The moment you start focusing on money instead of mission, you've already failed. But we need resources to expand, more training facilities, better equipment. Then we'll find another way. Sarah turned to Elena. Remember that federal grant program we discussed? The one for innovative community rehabilitation initiatives? Elena's eyes lit up. The one that specifically rewards programs showing measurable reductions in gang activity? We've got 2 months of solid data proving our impact, plus documented evidence of successful rehabilitation and job creation, Sarah added. Tank, gather your team leaders. Time to show these corporate vultures why we're not for sale. The next hours were intense. While Elena prepared their grant application, Sarah and Tank faced the media. But instead of hiding their operation, they showcased it. This isn't just security work, Sarah explained to the reporters. This is community transformation. We're not just preventing crime, we're providing legitimate careers to people society had written off. Tank, standing proud in his dual role as Iron Wolves leader and security commander, added his perspective. We're proof that people can change when given the right opportunity. Every former gang member we certify is one less threat to public safety. The cameras rolled as transformed crews demonstrated their professional protocols. Former rivals worked seamlessly together, showing coordination that impressed even veteran law enforcement observers. Look at their positioning, one police consultant commented on live TV. That's not just security work, that's tactical expertise. They're operating at a level most corporate firms can't match. By sunset, Sarah's phone was ringing constantly. Government agencies, security consultants, rehabilitation programs, all wanting to know more about their model. Blackguard just doubled their offer, Tank reported, showing her the message. They're getting nervous about the attention we're getting. Sarah smiled. They should be. We're not just running security operations, we're revolutionizing the entire industry. Show them our latest statistics. The numbers were impressive. 85% reduction in construction site theft, 90% rehabilitation success rate, and client satisfaction scores that corporate security firms couldn't touch. We're not selling, Tank announced to his assembled teams that evening. The Iron Wolves started this to make things right, to protect what matters. We're going to keep building it our way. The crews erupted in cheers. They'd found something money couldn't buy: purpose, respect, and legitimate pride in their work. Later, Sarah found Tank reviewing applications from more crews wanting to join their program. Having second thoughts about turning down those millions? She asked. Actually, I'm thinking about my brother, he replied. He always said the construction industry needed people who really understood protection, who cared about more than just profit. He looked at his teams conducting their evening patrols. We're building something he would have been proud of. Can't put a price tag on that. Sarah watched a group of trainees, former Crimson Riders among them, practicing proper security protocols. You know what's really valuable about our program? It's not just about rehabilitation or security. It's about transformation, proving that anyone can change if they're given the right path. Speaking of paths, Elena interrupted, rushing in with news. Grant Committee fast-tracked our application. They want to use our model as a template for similar programs nationwide. Tank grinned. Guess Blackguard can keep their millions. We've got something better, a chance to change the whole game. As night fell, Sarah stood with Tank watching their team secure the sites. Former enemies working together, professionals who had found their true calling. You know what's funny? Tank mused. Those corporate guys think we're running a security company. They don't understand what we're really building. And what's that? Sarah asked, though she already knew the answer. A legacy. Something that'll keep changing lives long after we're gone. He adjusted his commander's badge. All because some bikers messed with the wrong soldier. Sarah smiled. No, because the right people decided to become something better than anyone thought they could be. The transformation was complete. What had started as a solution to a gang problem had become a model for change that would reach far beyond one city's streets. National attention brought new challenges. 3 months after their public debut, Sarah sat in a packed conference room, facing representatives from 6 different states. All wanted to replicate her program. The numbers don't lie, a Department of Justice official was saying. Your rehabilitation rate is unprecedented, but can it work elsewhere, without your unique leadership? Sarah glanced at Tank, who now wore a tailored jacket over his Iron Wolves cut, a perfect symbol of their balanced approach. Show them, she nodded. Tank activated the presentation screen. 4 satellite programs already operational. Denver, Salt Lake City, Albuquerque, and Las Vegas, all run by graduated members of our original program. The footage showed transformed crews conducting professional security operations across multiple cities. Each team maintained their original identity while operating at peak professional standards. But here's the real success story, Tank continued, pulling up crime statistics. Every city that's adopted our model has seen at least a 60% reduction in gang-related construction crime, some as high as 80%. A skeptical FBI agent leaned forward. Because you've co-opted the gangs? Because we've given them a better option, Sarah corrected. These aren't just jobs, they're careers. Professional certifications, benefits, advancement opportunities. Everything society said they couldn't have. Joey entered, now serving as their training director. Latest incident report from Denver, he announced. Red Legion crew tried pushing into their territory. Our graduates handled it exactly by protocol. Full documentation, coordinated response, 0 excessive force. Sarah pulled up the footage. The assembled officials watched in amazement as former gang members executed a textbook security operation, transforming a potential gang war into a professional law enforcement collaboration. This is why corporate security firms can't match us, Tank explained. Our people understand both sides. They know the streets and the suits. They can prevent problems before they start. By recruiting the very people who used to cause those problems, the FBI agent noted dryly. Exactly, Sarah agreed. Who better to stop crime than people who understand how criminals think, but with professional training and legitimate authority? The discussion was interrupted by breaking news on the conference room's TV. A massive construction site heist had been thwarted in Las Vegas by graduates of their program. Live demonstration, Tank said with a slight smile. Want to watch how our model works in real time? The officials gathered around the screens as Sarah pulled up their secure feeds. The Vegas team, led by a former Iron Wolf named Marcus, coordinated with local police while maintaining perfect professional protocols. Notice their positioning, Sarah pointed out. Military-grade tactical formations, but adapted for civilian security work. Every action documented, every response measured. And these were gang members 3 months ago? A state prosecutor asked incredulously. No, Tank corrected. These were potential professionals who never got the right opportunity. Until now. The Vegas operation ended textbook perfect. No injuries, all suspects detained, full documentation for prosecution. This is why we're expanding carefully, Sarah explained. Each new city needs the right foundation. We don't just train security teams, we build community programs, job training, youth outreach, family support. The holistic approach, Elena added, entering with fresh data. Latest statistics show 85% of our graduates have opened savings accounts. 60% are pursuing additional education. 90% report improved family relationships. The DOJ official studied the numbers. You're not just changing individuals, you're transforming entire community dynamics. Because we understand something corporate programs don't, Tank said. Real change isn't about rules or rewards. It's about respect, identity, purpose. Sarah pulled up a map showing their expansion plans. Each red dot represents a crew that's contacted us about transformation. We've got waiting lists in 12 states. The demand is overwhelming, Joey added. Word spread through the underground. Crews see our graduates succeeding, not just surviving but thriving. They want the same chance. And the original Iron Wolves? The FBI agent asked Tank directly. Tank gestured to his commander's badge. Still running security, still wearing our colors. But now we're protecting instead of threatening, building instead of destroying. He paused. My brother used to say construction was about creating something lasting. Turns out he was right, just not in the way anyone expected. Later, after the officials left, Sarah found Tank staring at a photo wall showing their program's growth. Images of transformed crews, successful operations, community celebrations. Having doubts? She asked. The opposite, he replied. Thinking about how it all started. One soldier who saw something in us nobody else did. Now look. He gestured at the expansion map. We're changing the whole game, coast to coast. Because you proved it could work, Sarah said. The Iron Wolves weren't just my first success. You became the model others could believe in. Living proof that transformation is possible. A notification pinged. Another successful operation, this time in Denver. Former rivals working together, protecting what they once would have targeted. Know what the best part is? Tank mused, watching the professional performance of their graduates. Every city we expand to, every crew we transform. It all started because some bikers messed with the wrong soldier. Sarah smiled. No. It started because the right people were ready to change. I just showed them how. As night fell over their original site, Sarah watched new trainees learning protocols while veteran teams conducted their patrols. The transformation hadn't just worked. It had become a movement. And somewhere, she knew, Tank's brother was proud of what his legacy had really built. Success brought complications. 4 months into their national expansion, Sarah faced a new threat, one that couldn't be handled with security protocols or professional training. Corporate sabotage, Elena reported, spreading photos across Sarah's desk. Blackguard Security is targeting our graduates, offering them triple salary to switch sides, then using them to discredit our program. Tank slammed down his phone. Just lost the Henderson contract. Blackguard convinced them our reformed criminals were too risky. Used our own people to testify against us. Sarah studied the intelligence. Blackguard wasn't just poaching their personnel. They were systematically undermining the entire rehabilitation model. They're scared, she concluded. We're not just taking their contracts. We're exposing how ineffective traditional security companies are, so they're trying to destroy us from within. By turning our success stories into weapons against us, Joey added bitterly. Marcus went over to them last week. Now he's telling potential clients we're just running a sophisticated gang operation. Sarah stood, moving to the wall map showing their expansion. Red pins marked successful programs. Blue showed sites in development. But black pins had started appearing. locations where they'd lost contracts to Blackguard's tactics. "They don't understand what they're really attacking," she said quietly. "This isn't just about security contracts. It's about proof that people can change." "So what's the play?" Tank asked, his voice carrying the calm professionalism that had replaced his old gang leader swagger. "We can't match their money or their corporate connections." "No," Sarah smiled slightly. "But we can do something they'd never expect. Joey, call every site coordinator. I want all team leaders here tomorrow morning. Time to show these corporate raiders what real loyalty looks like." The next day, Sarah faced a room full of transformed gang leaders, each now a professional security commander. They'd flown in from across the country, representing every successful branch of their program. "Blackguard thinks they can buy us out," she began. "They see dollars and cents, but they don't understand what we've really built here." She gestured to the assembled leaders. "Look around, former rivals who now work together. People's society gave up on who now protect that same society. That's not for sale at any price." Tank stepped forward. "They offered me $2 million to switch sides, to testify that this program is a fraud." He pulled out the check, then ripped it in half. "My brother died because profit-focused security cut corners. We're not becoming what we set out to fight." One by one, other leaders shared similar stories. Blackguard had approached them all, offering fortunes to betray the program. Each had refused. "But we need to do more than just refuse," Sarah continued. "Blackguard is using our past against us, so let's show them, and everyone else, exactly who we've become." The plan they developed was audacious. Instead of hiding their criminal backgrounds, they would showcase their transformation. Every graduate, every success story, documented and publicized. "Complete transparency," Sarah explained. "We show the world the before and after. Let them see what real rehabilitation looks like." Elena coordinated with media outlets while Joey organized public demonstrations of their professional capabilities. Former gang members, now certified security professionals, demonstrated their expertise in front of news cameras. "This is who we were," Tank told reporters, showing his old mugshot. "And this is who Staff Sergeant Miller helped us become." He gestured to his teams running complex security operations with military precision. The coverage spread nationwide. Other rehabilitation programs started reaching out, wanting to learn their methods. Government agencies that had been skeptical now saw proof that transformation was possible. But the real turning point came when several major construction companies publicly dropped Blackguard, citing the superior performance of Sarah's graduates. "It's not just about security anymore," one CEO explained on national news. "These people understand protection from both sides. They prevent problems other companies don't even see coming." Blackguard's strategy backfired spectacularly. Every graduate they'd turned became living proof of the difference between corporate security and true rehabilitation. Their testimony about Blackguard's attempted sabotage only strengthened the program's reputation. "You know what really beat them?" Sarah asked Tank as they watched new crews training. "Not our tactics or our transparency. It was loyalty, something they couldn't buy because they didn't understand it." Tank nodded, watching his teams perform their duties with professional pride. "They thought we were just running a security business. Never understood we're building something bigger." "A movement," Sarah agreed. "Proof that the right opportunity can transform anyone. That's what Blackguard really feared. Not our competition, but our success at something they claimed was impossible." As evening approached, Sarah gathered all their team leaders for a final briefing. The room was filled with living proof of transformation, former gang members now serving as respected security commanders. "Blackguard tried to use our past to destroy our future," she told them. "But they didn't realize that our past is our strength. We succeeded because of who we were, not in spite of it. Our understanding of both sides of the law makes us better at protecting what matters." Joey reported final numbers for the day. 5 new contracts signed, 3 more cities requesting program implementation, and dozens of crews nationwide asking to join their training. "They tried to break us," Tank observed, "but only made us stronger." "Because they never understood what we really are," Sarah replied. Not just a security company or a rehabilitation program. We're living proof that change is possible, and that's something no amount of corporate money can defeat. As night fell, Sarah watched their team securing sites across the city. Each guard, each patrol, represented a life transformed. Blackguard had tried to destroy their reputation, but instead had only reinforced their greatest strength, the unshakable loyalty of people who'd been given a real second chance. The wrong soldier hadn't just created a security program. She'd built something corporate raiders could never buy: genuine transformation and the unshakable bonds it created. The Blackguard incident changed everything. 5 months into their program, Sarah found herself addressing the National Conference on Criminal Rehabilitation. The audience included government officials, law enforcement leaders, and rehabilitation experts from across the country. Traditional security companies see our backgrounds as a liability, she explained, standing beside Tank in his now signature combination of professional attire and Iron Wolves cut. They missed the point entirely. Our success comes from understanding both sides of the equation. Tank took over, his commanding presence drawing every eye. 6 months ago, I was leading a gang terrorizing construction sites. Today I run a professional security operation that's more effective than any corporate team. The difference? Someone saw potential where others saw only threat. The presentation screens showed their latest statistics. Over 500 former gang members successfully transformed into certified security professionals, operating in 15 cities. Crime rates plummeting wherever their program took root. But here's what really matters, Sarah continued. 0 recidivism. Not one graduate has returned to criminal activity. Because we're not just offering jobs, we're providing purpose. A skeptical police chief raised his hand. And when they face temptation? Old crews trying to pull them back in? Show them. Sarah nodded to Elena, who pulled up footage from the previous week. The video showed a graduate team in Denver facing down their former gang allies. Instead of violence, they demonstrated professional security protocols, turning a potential gang war into a recruitment opportunity. 3 of those would-be attackers are now in our training program, Tank announced proudly. This is how real change spreads, not through force, but through example. The next presentation segment revealed their newest initiative, the Guardian Transformation Program, a comprehensive system for turning former criminals into certified security professionals, complete with psychological support, family services, and career development. The Iron Wolves were just the beginning, Sarah explained. Now we're building a nationwide network of transformed crews. Each success story becomes a mentor for the next group. Joey, now their national training director, shared the expanded curriculum. Military-grade security protocols adapted for civilian application, combined with deep understanding of criminal methodology. Our graduates don't just stop crime, they prevent it from happening. The audience was particularly impressed by their community integration statistics. Neighborhoods that once feared their local gangs now relied on those same people for protection, legitimately, professionally, effectively. But the real breakthrough, Sarah continued, came from something Blackguard taught us. They tried to use our past against us, so we turned it into our greatest strength, complete transparency about who we were and who we've become. Tank gestured to his command team, former gang leaders now serving as professional security commanders. We don't hide our tattoos or our cuts, we add to them, show both sides of our journey. Because real change isn't about erasing who you were, it's about transforming into who you can be. The presentation was interrupted by breaking news. A massive coordinated attack on construction sites in Los Angeles had been thwarted by graduates of their program working seamlessly with local law enforcement. Live demonstration? Sarah smiled, pulling up their secure feeds. The officials watched in amazement as former gang members executed perfect security protocols, their professional response making traditional security teams look amateur by comparison. This is what real rehabilitation looks like, Tank explained. Not just stopping criminal activity, but transforming former criminals into society's protectors. Every graduate becomes living proof that change is possible. After the conference, Sarah found Tank reviewing applications from crews across the country. The waiting list for their program had grown exponentially since the Blackguard incident. "Know what's funny?" he mused. "Those corporate suits thought they could destroy us by exposing our past. Never realized our past is what makes us unbeatable at what we do." "Because they don't understand real transformation," Sarah replied. "They see surface changes. We're changing cores." Elena rushed in with urgent news. "Major police departments want to implement our training methods. They're saying our graduates understand criminal prevention better than their own analysts." "Of course we do," Tank grinned. "We've seen both sides. Now we're using that knowledge to protect instead of threaten." Later that night, watching new recruits training alongside veteran graduates, Sarah reflected on their journey. What had started as a solution to one construction site's gang problem had evolved into something revolutionary, a whole new approach to rehabilitation and security. "You know what Blackguard really couldn't understand?" she asked Tank as they observed the training. "You can't buy what we've built because it's not about money. It's about transformation, about proving that anyone can change if they're given the right chance." Tank nodded, watching former rivals working together with professional precision. "And it all started because some bikers messed with the wrong soldier." Sarah smiled. "No. It started because the right soldier met the right bikers. People ready to become something more than anyone thought possible." The night shift changed guards, each team moving with practiced efficiency. Former gang members, now trusted protectors, securing the very society that had once rejected them. Living proof that the right opportunity, combined with genuine purpose, could transform even the most unlikely candidates into professionals. The wrong soldier had created something unprecedented, a model for change that was reshaping not just security work, but the whole approach to rehabilitation nationwide. 6 months after their program began, Sarah faced an unexpected visitor in her office. Representative from Interpol, complete with diplomatic credentials and a file full of international statistics. "Your model has caught attention overseas," the agent explained. "Several European countries are particularly interested in your rehabilitation success rates. We've never seen anything like it." Sarah shared a knowing look with Tank, who now carried himself with the natural authority of a security commander. "Let me guess. You have similar problems? Construction site theft, organized crime, ineffective traditional security?" "Exactly. But it's your transformation methodology that really interests us. Converting criminal organizations into legitimate security operations? That's unprecedented." Tank spread out their latest performance reports. "Because most programs try to erase who these people were. We do the opposite. We build on their existing skills, their street knowledge, their organizational structures." The Interpol agent studied footage of their operations, former gang members executing perfect security protocols while maintaining their original identities, professional excellence combined with street credibility. "But how do you maintain control?" he asked. "Prevent them from reverting to old patterns?" Sarah smiled. "We don't control them. We give them something better than their old life: purpose, respect, legitimate success. Show them." Tank pulled up live feeds from across the country. Transformed crews running complex security operations, mentoring new recruits, working seamlessly with law enforcement. 6 months ago, these were rival gangs, Tank explained. Now they're certified security professionals. Not because we forced them to change, but because we showed them a better way to be strong. A commotion interrupted them. Joey burst in with urgent news. "Major situation in Miami. New cartel trying to take over the ports. They're targeting our graduation ceremony." Sarah moved instantly to the command center, the Interpol agent following with keen interest. On multiple screens, they watched a potentially deadly situation unfold. But instead of chaos, they witnessed precision. Their Miami graduates, led by former gang lieutenant, now security commander Rodriguez, implemented textbook containment protocols. The cartel's attempt to disrupt the ceremony backfired spectacularly. "Notice their response," Sarah pointed out to the impressed agent. "No excessive force, no revenge tactics, pure professional security work." but with an understanding of criminal methodology that traditional security can't match, Tank added. They prevent problems others don't even see coming. The Miami situation resolved perfectly. The cartel neutralized, all actions documented, seamless cooperation with local authorities. Another testament to their program's effectiveness. This is what real transformation looks like, Sarah explained to the agent. Not just changing behavior, but redirecting existing skills toward legitimate purposes. Later, reviewing the Interpol proposal for international expansion, Tank raised concerns. Different countries, different gang cultures. Can our model work globally? The core principle is universal, Sarah replied. People want purpose, respect, a chance to be something more than society expects. We just show them how. Elena arrived with more international inquiries. Germany, UK, Australia, they're all requesting program details. Our success rates are rewriting rehabilitation theory. Because we understand something others missed, Tank said, watching new recruits training alongside veteran graduates. Real change doesn't come from breaking people down. It comes from showing them a better way to be strong. The Interpol agent spent the day observing their operations. He watched former rivals working together professionally, saw the seamless integration of street knowledge with security expertise. Your graduates, he noted, they still maintain their original identities. The Iron Wolves still wear their cuts. Other crews keep their names and territories. But with a new purpose, Sarah explained. They're not just security guards, they're guardians, protectors of the communities they once threatened. That evening, Sarah addressed a new class of recruits, former gang members from across the country, ready to begin their transformation. Look around, she told them. Every instructor here stood where you're standing. They chose to become something more than anyone thought possible. Now they're proving that real strength comes from protecting, not threatening. Tank, standing beside her, added his perspective. 6 months ago, I thought being feared meant being respected. Now I understand the difference. True respect comes from how you use your strength. The Interpol agent, preparing to depart, made one final observation. You know what's remarkable? Every graduate I've spoken to says the same thing. This program didn't just change what they do. It changed who they are. Sarah watched her team securing the facility, each member moving with professional precision while maintaining their unique identity. That's because we never tried to erase their past, she explained. We showed them how to transform it into something powerful, something legitimate, something worthy of real respect. Tank smiled, remembering how it all began. And it started because some bikers messed with the wrong soldier. No, Sarah corrected, watching new recruits beginning their journey to transformation. It started because someone finally saw the potential in people everyone else had given up on. Sometimes the wrong people to mess with turn out to be exactly the right people to help. As night fell, the facility hummed with activity. Former criminals training to become legitimate protectors, once rival gangs working together professionally, living proof that with the right opportunity and genuine purpose, anyone could transform their life. The wrong soldier had created something revolutionary, a model for change that was now going global, proving that real rehabilitation doesn't erase the past, but transforms it into something powerful and legitimate. 7 months in, their command center had transformed. Multiple screens tracked operations across 3 continents, while Tank coordinated with international team leaders and fluent security protocols he'd once mocked. London unit reporting successful integration, he announced, watching former British street gangs execute perfect security maneuvers. Berlin team completing final certification, Sydney starting Phase 1 training. Sarah studied the global map, now dotted with success markers. Different countries, different cultures, but the core principle remains the same. Give people a better way to be strong, and they'll choose it every time. Elena burst in with breaking news. Major situation in Hamburg. Port Authority contract up for bid. Local crews fighting traditional security companies for control. Perfect test case, Sarah replied, pulling up the feeds. Show them how professionals handle it. They watched as their German graduates, led by former Street Lieutenant Klaus Weber, demonstrated their new approach. Instead of fighting the corporate security teams, they invited them to observe their superior protocols. Notice the difference. Tank pointed to the screens. Corporate teams use force to control. Our people prevent problems before they start, understanding both sides of the security equation. The Hamburg situation transformed from potential conflict into a demonstration of professional excellence. Corporate clients watched in amazement as former gang members executed security protocols that put traditional teams to shame. That's how real change spreads, Sarah explained to visiting international observers. Not through competition, but through demonstration. Excellence speaks for itself. Joey, now their international training director, entered with more success metrics. Global rehabilitation rates holding steady at 95%, employment retention at 98%, no graduate has returned to criminal activity in any country. But their international expansion faced unique challenges. Cultural differences, local regulations, varying gang structures, each required careful adaptation of their core model. Tokyo team struggling with hierarchy integration, Tank reported. Yakuza structure doesn't translate directly to our standard protocols. So we adapt, Sarah replied. Keep the core principle, transformation through legitimate purpose, but flex the implementation to fit local needs. They watched live feeds of their Japanese unit finding their balance. Former Yakuza members learning to merge their strict organizational discipline with professional security protocols. That's what makes this work globally, Sarah explained to the observers. We don't force one model on everyone. We show them how to transform their existing structure into something legitimate. An alert flashed. Situation developing in Manchester. Their UK graduates facing down their former rivals. But instead of violence, they demonstrated professional containment, turning potential conflict into recruitment opportunity. 6 more crews requesting training, Elena reported afterward. They saw how our graduates handled that situation. Now they want the same transformation. Tank smiled, remembering his own journey. From feared to respected, from threatening communities to protecting them. That change looks the same in any language. Later, during international coordinator briefing, Sarah addressed team leaders from 12 countries via secure video link. Each had once led criminal operations. Now they commanded professional security units. Your backgrounds are different, she told them. Your cultures, your traditions, your original organizations, all unique. But you've all proven the same thing. Given the right opportunity, anyone can transform their life. The screens showed their global impact. Construction site crime rates plummeting worldwide, rehabilitation success stories multiplying, communities transformed as former threats became professional protectors. But the real victory, Tank added, isn't in the numbers. It's in what we've proven. That real strength isn't about causing fear. It's about creating security. And that works in any country. A new crisis emerged. Coordinated attacks on ports in 3 countries. But instead of chaos, the world watched their graduates respond with synchronized professional precision. Former criminals turned security experts, protecting international commerce with military-grade protocols. This is what real transformation looks like globally, Sarah explained to amazed port authorities. Not just changed behavior, but redirected purpose. They're not just following security protocols, they're redefining what security means. The evening brought more international success reports. Former Brazilian street gangs now securing Olympic venues. Ex-Russian crews protecting major construction projects. Australian bikers transformed into professional site security. Know what's really remarkable? Elena observed, reviewing global data. Every country shows the same pattern. Once they see it's possible, once they witness real transformation, they want to be part of it. Tank watched screens showing their teams operating worldwide. From one construction site to international operations. All because some bikers messed with the wrong soldier. No, Sarah corrected, smiling at their global success. Because the right soldier showed people everywhere that transformation is possible, that anyone can change if they're given purpose instead of punishment. As night fell in multiple time zones, their international teams continued their work. Former criminals protecting legitimate commerce. Once rival gangs working together professionally. Global proof that the right opportunity could transform lives anywhere. The wrong soldier had created something unprecedented, a worldwide movement proving that real rehabilitation doesn't depend on location or culture, but on showing people a better way to use their strength. 8 months after it all began, Sarah found herself standing before the United Nations Security Council. The same soldier who'd faced down bikers at a construction site was now presenting a global security initiative. Traditional rehabilitation fails because it tries to erase the past, she explained, Tank standing proudly beside her in his now famous combination of professional suit and Iron Wolf's cut. Our approach succeeds because we transform existing skills into legitimate strengths. The screens behind them showed simultaneous operations across 20 countries. Former gang members, now elite security professionals, protecting everything from construction sites to international shipping lanes. But here's what really matters, Tank added, his commanding presence drawing even the most skeptical diplomats' attention. It's not just about security. We're preventing the next generation from choosing crime in the first place. Their presentation revealed the newest phase, youth outreach programs run by their graduates, former gang leaders now mentoring at-risk teens, showing them a legitimate path to respect and success. In Rio, Sarah highlighted, our graduates have reduced youth gang recruitment by 80%, in Moscow by 75%, in Cape Town 85%, because kids now see a better way to be strong. The council was particularly interested in their port security success. Traditional companies had struggled with international shipping protection. Their graduates excelled at it. Because they understand both sides, Tank explained. They know every trick criminals use because they used to be the criminals. Now they use that knowledge to protect instead of threaten. Elena interrupted with urgent news. A coordinated terrorist attempt to infiltrate major ports had been thwarted by their security teams working seamlessly across 3 continents. Show them, Sarah nodded, and the screens filled with live footage. The council watched in amazement as former criminals executed perfect counter-terrorism protocols. Their understanding of underground networks, combined with professional training, had prevented a major international crisis. This is what real transformation looks like at a global scale, Sarah explained. Not just changing individuals, but creating a worldwide network of reformed protectors. Joey, now their global operations director, presented the latest statistics. Over 5,000 former gang members successfully transformed into certified security professionals, crime rates dropping wherever their graduates operated, international commerce flowing more securely than ever. But our greatest success, Tank added, isn't in the numbers. It's in what we've proven, that anyone, anywhere, can choose to become something better. A skeptical Russian delegate raised the key question. And when they face temptation? When criminal organizations offer them money to betray their new purpose? Sarah smiled. Show them the Stockholm incident. The footage showed their Swedish graduates being approached by international criminals offering millions to look the other way. Instead, the former gang members executed a perfect sting operation, working with Interpol to dismantle the entire criminal network. Because we give them something money can't buy, Tank explained. Real respect, legitimate purpose, pride in protecting instead of threatening. Later, reviewing global operations from their expanded command center, Sarah watched their teams in action across every time zone. Former enemies working together professionally, protecting the very society that had once rejected them. You know what's really remarkable? Elena observed, studying worldwide data. Every culture, every country shows the same pattern. Given the right opportunity, people choose legitimate strength over criminal power. Tank nodded, watching new recruits training alongside veteran graduates. From one angry confrontation at a construction site to changing lives worldwide, all because, don't say it, Sarah interrupted with a smile. This isn't about bikers messing with the wrong soldier anymore. It's about proving that transformation is possible anywhere, for anyone willing to choose a better path. A series of alerts drew their attention. Simultaneous graduation ceremonies in London, Tokyo, Sao Paulo, and Dubai. former gang members receiving their professional security certifications, ready to join the worldwide network of transformed protectors. This is what real change looks like, Sarah told the gathered observers. Not forcing people to forget who they were, but helping them become something more than anyone thought possible. As night fell across multiple continents, their international teams continued their work. Former criminals protecting legitimate commerce, once rival gangs working together professionally. Global proof that the right opportunity, combined with genuine purpose, could transform lives anywhere. What had started as a simple security solution had become something unprecedented. A worldwide movement proving that real strength comes not from causing fear, but from creating safety. The wrong soldier had sparked a global revolution in rehabilitation, security, and the power of transformation. And somewhere, watching over a construction site that had become the birthplace of worldwide change, Tank's brother would have been proud of what his legacy had truly built. 9 months after the first confrontation, the United Nations launched what they called the Phoenix Initiative, based entirely on Sarah and Tank's model of transformation. But even as their success grew, they faced their greatest challenge yet. World Economic Forum wants us to expand beyond security work, Elena reported, spreading proposals across Sarah's desk. They're seeing applications for our model in everything from corporate reformation to international peacekeeping. Tank studied the global feeds showing their teams in action. From threatening construction sites to advising world leaders. Still can't believe how far we've come. A crisis alert interrupted their reflection. Multiple screens lit up with breaking news. A sophisticated international crime syndicate had launched simultaneous attacks on major ports worldwide. But instead of chaos, they witnessed something extraordinary. Their graduates didn't just respond. They had anticipated the threat. Teams across 3 continents moved in perfect coordination, using their understanding of criminal methodology to stay 3 steps ahead. Watch this, Sarah directed the gathered international observers. This is what makes our people unique. On screen, former gang members executed complex security protocols while communicating across language barriers and time zones. Their shared experience of transformation created a bond that transcended national boundaries. Stockholm team containing Northern Approach, came one report. Dubai unit securing petroleum sectors. Rio squad protecting shipping lanes. Tank coordinated the global response from their command center, his authority now recognized by law enforcement agencies worldwide. This is what real international security looks like, he explained to amazed officials. Not just reacting to threats, but understanding them deeply enough to prevent them. Within hours, the syndicate's operation collapsed. Not through violence or force, but through precise professional security work by people who understood both sides of the law. Final numbers coming in, Joey announced. 0 casualties, minimal property damage, complete documentation for prosecution, perfect execution across all zones. Sarah gathered her international command team for debriefing. The screens showed security chiefs from 20 countries, each one a graduate of their program, each a former criminal now leading legitimate protection operations. Today proved something crucial, she told them. Our transformation model works because it builds on what already exists. Your understanding of criminal networks, combined with professional training, creates something traditional security can't match. The World Economic Forum presentation loomed the next day. Sarah and Tank faced global leaders ready to expand their model beyond security work. The principle is universal, Sarah explained to the assembled dignitaries. Whether it's gang members, corrupt corporations, or failing institutions, real change comes from transforming existing structures into legitimate forces for good. Tank added his perspective, his presence commanding even in this elite gathering. 8 months ago, I led a gang terrorizing construction sites. Today, I help coordinate international security operations. The difference? Someone saw potential where others saw only threat. The screens behind them told their story in numbers. Over 10,000 former criminals transformed into certified professionals. Crime rates dropped by 70% in areas where their graduates operated. International security incidents reduced by 85% at protected facilities. But the real impact goes beyond statistics, Sarah continued. We're proving that transformation is possible at any scale. From local gangs to international organizations, the key is the same. Give people a better way to be strong, and they'll choose it. Elena rushed in with urgent news. Their Tokyo team had just prevented a massive corporate espionage attempt. Former Yakuza members, now legitimate security professionals, had protected international business interests more effectively than any traditional service. Show them. Sarah nodded, and the screens filled with the operation footage. The world leaders watched as their graduates demonstrated what transformed strength looked like. Professional excellence combined with deep understanding of criminal methodology. Legitimate power protecting instead of threatening. This is why we succeed where others fail, Tank explained. We don't just change what people do, we transform who they are. Give them purpose, respect, and a chance to use their strength for something worthy. Later, reviewing proposals for expanding their model, Sarah found Tank watching new recruits training alongside veteran graduates. You know what really amazes me? He mused. Not just how far we've come, but how many lives we've changed. Every person here represents a whole community transformed. Sarah nodded, watching their teams operate across the globe. Because we understood something others missed. Real change doesn't come from breaking people down. It comes from showing them a better way to be strong. As night fell across multiple time zones, their international network continued its work. Former criminals protecting legitimate commerce. Once rival gangs working together professionally. Global proof that the right opportunity, combined with genuine purpose, could transform not just individuals, but entire systems. What had started as one soldier's solution to a local gang problem had become something unprecedented. A worldwide model for transformation that was reshaping international approaches to rehabilitation, security, and the power of legitimate strength. The wrong soldier hadn't just created a security program. She'd sparked a global revolution in how the world thinks about change, proving that sometimes the greatest threats can become the strongest protectors. 10 months into their global operation, Sarah faced a new kind of challenge. The World Bank wanted to use their transformation model for international development programs. The United Nations was studying it for peacekeeping missions. Even major corporations were seeking their expertise in organizational change. We've got requests from 30 countries, Elena reported, scrolling through an endless list. Not just for security work anymore. They want to apply our methods to everything from corporate reform to community development. Tank, now serving as Global Operations Chief, studied their worldwide feeds. Hard to believe it started with one construction site. Now we're advising world leaders on transformation strategy. A priority alert flashed across their screens. A situation in Singapore where corporate corruption had threatened a major development project. But instead of traditional intervention, their local team, former triads turned professional security experts, had handled it uniquely. Watch this, Sarah directed visiting World Bank officials. This shows why our model works at any scale. The Singapore team hadn't just secured the site. They'd identified the corruption patterns using their intimate knowledge of criminal methodology. Their solution combined professional protocols with street-smart understanding, resolving the crisis without a single incident. Your people did in 3 days what our investigative teams couldn't do in 3 months, one official marveled. How? Because they understand both sides, Tank explained. They've lived the criminal life and chosen legitimate success. That perspective is invaluable. Sarah gathered her international command team for a critical briefing. The screens showed unit leaders from across the globe, each one a living testament to the power of transformation. We're entering a new phase, she announced. Our success in security work has proven something bigger, that real transformation can happen at any level, in any context. Joey, now Director of Global Programs, presented their expanded model. We're not just teaching security protocols anymore. We're showing organizations worldwide how to turn problems into solutions, threats into assets. The evidence was compelling. Their graduates weren't just preventing crime, they were transforming entire communities. Former gang territories had become thriving neighborhoods. Once dangerous construction sites were now models of professional security. But here's what really matters, Tank addressed the gathered officials. Every person we transform becomes a catalyst for wider change. They show others what's possible. A series of alerts drew their attention. Simultaneous operations across 4 continents, each showing their model's versatility. In Brazil, former favela gangs protecting major construction projects. In Russia, reformed criminals securing international shipping. In South Africa, transformed street crews managing community development. This is what real global change looks like, Sarah explained to the amazed observers. Not forcing new systems on people, but helping them transform existing structures into legitimate forces for good. Elena rushed in with breaking news. Their Dubai team had just prevented a sophisticated international fraud operation. Former criminals, now elite security professionals, had spotted patterns that traditional investigators had missed completely. Show them the response, Sarah nodded, and the screens filled with live footage. The world watched as their graduates demonstrated transformed expertise in action. Their understanding of criminal networks, combined with professional training, had created something unprecedented. Legitimate protectors who could anticipate and prevent threats before they materialized. You know what's really extraordinary? Tank mused later, watching new recruits train alongside veteran graduates. We're not just changing individuals anymore. We're changing how the world thinks about transformation itself. Sarah nodded, observing their teams operate across multiple time zones. Because we proved something crucial, that the right opportunity, combined with real purpose, can transform anyone or anything. A new alert drew their attention. Their Tokyo unit had just completed another successful operation, preventing a major security breach at an international corporation. But the real success wasn't in the prevention. It was in how they'd done it. Notice their approach, Sarah pointed out to visiting officials. They didn't just stop the threat. They showed the potential attackers a better way, recruited them for training, transformation in action. As night fell across the globe, their international network continued its work. But they weren't just providing security anymore. They were proving that real change is possible at any scale, that anyone can transform if given the right purpose and opportunity. What had started with one soldier facing down angry bikers had become something unprecedented, a global model for transformation that was reshaping how the world approaches change itself. Sometimes I wonder, Tank said, watching their teams in action worldwide. What would have happened if we hadn't messed with you that day at the construction site? Sarah smiled, seeing not just their global success, but the thousands of lives transformed. Then someone else would have, because the world was ready for this kind of change. We just showed them how to make it happen. The wrong soldier hadn't just created a security program or a rehabilitation model. She'd sparked a worldwide revolution in how we think about transformation, proving that sometimes the biggest threats can become the greatest forces for positive change. And somewhere, watching over a construction site that had become the birthplace of global transformation, Tank's brother would have been proud of what his legacy had truly built. Not just buildings, but bridges between who people were and who they could become. 1 year to the day after the Iron Wolves first threatened a construction site in Phoenix, Sarah Miller stood at that same spot, now transformed beyond recognition. The Rising Hope Community Center wasn't just complete. It had become a global symbol of transformation. Full circle, Tank remarked, standing beside her in what had become their signature look, professional attire paired with their original identity. His Iron Wolves cut now bore additional patches, Global Security Commander and Transformation Specialist. The center buzzed with activity. Local kids attending after-school programs run by reformed gang members, international delegations studying their model, new recruits training alongside veteran graduates. Latest numbers are in, Elena announced, tablet in hand. Worldwide statistics for our first year. 15,000 former criminals transformed into certified professionals. Crime rates down 80% in areas where we operate. International security incidents reduced by 90% at protected facilities. But the real success stories played out on the screens around them. Live feeds from across the globe showed their graduates in action. Former Yakuza protecting Tokyo corporations, transformed Russian gangs securing international ports, reformed Brazilian crews managing Olympic security, You know what's really remarkable? Joey observed, now their chief of global training. Every single graduate has stayed with the program, 0 returns to criminal activity, because we gave them something better than what they had before. Sarah watched a group of new recruits, former rivals from 3 different countries, training together under Tank's guidance. We didn't just change how security works, she noted. We changed how the world thinks about transformation itself. A priority alert flashed across their screens. Their London team had just prevented a major international crisis. But instead of celebrating the prevention, they were already training the would-be perpetrators, continuing the cycle of transformation. That's our real legacy, Tank explained to visiting UN officials. Not just stopping threats, but transforming them into protectors. Every person we change becomes a catalyst for wider transformation. The evidence surrounded them. The construction site where it all began now hosted international transformation conferences. The Iron Wolves' former territory had become a model of community development. Their security protocols were being taught at police academies worldwide. Remember that first night? Tank asked Sarah, watching their teams coordinate across time zones. When you turned our intimidation attempt into a recruitment opportunity? Sarah smiled, seeing not just their global success, but the thousands of lives changed. You weren't just the first success story. You became the model that proved transformation was possible anywhere, for anyone willing to choose a better path. A final series of alerts drew their attention. Simultaneous graduation ceremonies across 5 continents. Former criminals receiving their professional certifications, ready to join the worldwide network of transformed protectors. This is what real change looks like, Sarah told the gathered observers. Not forcing people to forget who they were, but helping them become something more than anyone thought possible. As sunset approached, they gathered their global command team for a special anniversary briefing. The screens showed unit leaders from 40 countries, each one a living testament to the power of transformation. 1 year ago, Sarah addressed them, we proved something extraordinary, that the right opportunity, combined with genuine purpose, can transform anyone. That real strength isn't about causing fear, but about creating safety. Tank added his perspective, his voice carrying authority earned through real change. We're not just security professionals anymore. We're living proof that transformation is possible, that anyone can choose a better way to be strong. The screens showed their impact worldwide. Former gang territories becoming safe communities. Once dangerous construction sites now models of professional security. International commerce flowing safely under their protection. But our greatest victory, Sarah concluded, isn't in the numbers or the global success. It's in what we've proven, that sometimes the biggest threats can become the strongest protectors. That real change doesn't come from breaking people down, but from showing them a better way to use their strength. As night fell across multiple time zones, their international network continued its work. Former criminals protecting legitimate commerce, once rival gangs working together professionally. Global proof that the right opportunity, combined with genuine purpose, could transform not just individuals, but entire systems. The wrong soldier hadn't just handled a gang problem or created a security program. She'd sparked a worldwide revolution in how we think about transformation, proving that sometimes the most unlikely encounters can lead to the most extraordinary changes. And as the lights came on at Rising Hope Community Center, illuminating the place where it all began, Sarah and Tank watched new recruits beginning their journey to transformation. You know what's funny? Tank mused. Everyone says it started because some bikers messed with the wrong soldier. No, Sarah corrected, seeing not just their past success, but their future potential. It started because the right people were ready to become something more than anyone thought possible. We just showed them how. The world had learned a powerful lesson. Real change isn't about erasing who you were, but about transforming into who you can be. And sometimes, the wrong people to mess with turn out to be exactly the right people to change the world.